Zixthar had never felt so small in his entire life. The Velcrian scientist stood in the docking bay of Harmony Point Station, watching the human shuttle approach through the massive viewport. His four thin legs trembled slightly beneath his chitinous body. Around him, other species from across the galaxy moved about their business, but Zixthar could not take his eyes off the incoming vessel. The humans were coming. For 3 years, the Galactic Coalition had debated whether to allow humanity into their ranks. The humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 30 years ago, making them the youngest species in known space. Most Coalition members thought they were primitive. Zixthar had read all the reports. Humans had no natural weapons, no thick skin or scales, no venom or telepathic powers. They were soft creatures from a world they called Earth. The shuttle landed with a soft hiss. Zixthar adjusted his translation device and straightened his posture, trying to look professional. The door opened, and 3 humans stepped out. The first was tall for his species, with short gray hair and sharp blue eyes. He wore a dark uniform with colorful patches on the shoulders. This had to be Commander Jake Morrison, the military liaison. Behind him came a shorter female with dark hair pulled back in a tight style. She smiled warmly at everyone she saw. That would be Dr. Lisa Chen, the xenobiologist. The third human was broader, with light brown hair and a relaxed walk. Captain Ben Hayes of the Defiant Star. "Welcome to Harmony Point," Ambassador Velcara said in the common tongue. The elderly Velcrian diplomat bowed her head slightly. "We are honored to host humanity's first official delegation." Jake Morrison smiled and extended his hand. Zixthar had read about this gesture. Humans touched each other as a greeting, pressing their flesh together. The thought made him uncomfortable, but Velcara reached out her thin appendage and allowed the human to grasp it gently. "The honor is ours, Ambassador," Jake said. His voice was deep and calm. "We're grateful for this opportunity." Lisa Chen stepped forward, and her eyes lit up when she saw Zixthar. "Oh, wow. You must be from the Velcrian Science Council. I've read all your papers on quantum biology. Your work is amazing!" Zixthar felt his mandibles click in surprise. You have read my research?" "Of course." "Your study on cellular regeneration in low-gravity environments changed how we think about space medicine." Lisa moved closer, and Zixthar resisted the urge to step back. "I'm Dr. Lisa Chen. I study alien life forms, and the Velcrians are fascinating. Your exoskeleton structure is beautiful." No one had ever called his body beautiful before. Zixthar felt confused but oddly pleased. "Thank you. I am Zixthar. I will be your guide during your stay." The next 2 days passed in a blur of meetings and observations. Zixthar watched the humans carefully, taking notes on everything. They seemed so fragile compared to other species. Their skin was soft and easily damaged. They had to eat frequently and sleep for many hours each day. They could not breathe many types of atmosphere without assistance. Yet they moved through the station with confidence, showing no fear. On the 3rd day, everything changed. The alarm rang through the station like a scream. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Zixthar was in the science lab with Lisa when it happened. She immediately touched a device on her wrist. "Chen here. What's the situation?" Jake Morrison's voice came through, tense but controlled. "Distress call from Mining Colony 7. Crash attack. Multiple casualties. They're asking for immediate assistance." Zixthar felt his blood run cold. The Kresh were nightmare creatures, insectoid warriors who refused to join the coalition. They were 3 meters tall with razor-sharp claws and armor-like shells. They killed for territory and resources, showing no mercy to weaker species. Lisa looked at Zixthar, and he saw something in her eyes he did not expect, not fear but determination. "I need to get to the Defiant Star. People are hurt." Within an hour, the Coalition Council gathered in emergency session. Zixthar watched from the observation deck as ambassadors from dozens of worlds debated. Most wanted to send a message condemning the attack. Some suggested economic sanctions. A few spoke of organizing a rescue mission that would take weeks to prepare. Then Jake Morrison stood up. "With respect to the council," he said quietly, "people are dying right now. We don't have weeks. We don't have days. The human fleet can reach Colony 7 in 3 days. We volunteer to go." The room erupted in noise. Ambassador Velcara raised her voice above the chaos. "Commander Morrison, the Kresh are extremely dangerous. Your species has never faced them in combat. This would be suicide." Jake looked around the room, and Zixthar saw something in the human's face that made him uncomfortable. It was not fear or anger. It was something else, something calm and cold. "Ambassador, humanity has faced dangerous enemies before. We know what we're doing." "Your weapons are primitive," a Thorian delegate hissed. "Your ships have minimal shields. You have no natural defenses." "We have enough," Jake said simply. The council voted. The humans would lead the rescue mission, supported by coalition ships that would arrive later. As the meeting ended, Zixthar made a decision that would change his life. He approached Jake Morrison in the corridor outside. "Commander, I wish to accompany your mission. As a scientist, I should document first contact combat situations." Jake studied him for a long moment. "It's going to be dangerous, Zixthar. We can't guarantee your safety." "I understand." "Do you?" Jake asked softly. "Have you ever been in a battle?" "No," Zixthar admitted. "But I need to see this. I need to understand." Jake nodded slowly. "All right, welcome aboard the Defiant Star. We launch in 4 hours." He turned to leave, then paused. "Pack light. And Zixthar, stay close to Lisa. She'll keep you safe." As Zixthar hurried to his quarters to prepare, he felt excitement and terror mixing in his chest. He was going to war with the humans. He would finally see what these strange, soft creatures could do when faced with real danger. He had no idea what he was about to discover. He had no idea that everything he believed about strength and courage was wrong, and he certainly had no idea that 3 days from now he would watch a Kresh warrior, a creature bred for battle, run away from a human in genuine fear. The Defiant Star waited in the docking bay, and Zixthar walked toward it on trembling legs. The inside of the Defiant Star confused Zixthar. He had been on many ships from many different species, but human vessels were strange. The corridors were narrow and filled with handrails. Everything seemed designed for quick movement rather than comfort. Signs in human writing covered the walls, along with pictures he did not understand. Lisa showed him to a small cabin. "Sorry it's cramped," she said cheerfully. "Human ships are built for efficiency, not luxury. But you'll be safe here." "Safe?" Zixthar clicked his mandibles. "We are going to fight the Kresh." "True," Lisa admitted. "But the Defiant Star is tougher than she looks. Captain Hayes knows what he's doing." She patted the wall like it was a living thing. "This girl has been through a lot and she's still flying." After Lisa left, Zixthar tried to rest, but the ship's acceleration made it difficult. Human ships moved fast, faster than most coalition vessels. He could feel the engines thrumming through the walls like a heartbeat. The next morning, Zixthar explored the ship. In the gym, he found something that shocked him. A human female with dark skin and short hair was lifting heavy metal bars repeatedly. Her face showed pain, and her muscles shook with effort. Another human ran on a machine that went nowhere, sweat pouring down his face. "Excuse me," Zixthar approached carefully. "Are you injured? Should I call for medical help?" The woman set down her weights and smiled. "No, I'm good. Just working out." She wiped her face with a cloth. "I'm Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, weapons officer." "But you are hurting yourself," Zixthar said, confused. "Why?" Amy laughed. "It's called exercise. We stress our muscles so they grow stronger. Hurts now, but it makes us tougher later." You deliberately damage your body to improve it? Pretty much, yeah. Amy picked up the weights again. On Earth, we have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Zixthar backed away slowly. These humans made no sense. What kind of species hurt themselves on purpose? In the mess hall, he found more strange behavior. A group of Marines sat around a table, laughing loudly at a screen. Zixthar recognized the images, scenes from human history, soldiers in primitive uniforms fighting with explosive weapons, buildings on fire, thousands dying. This is funny to you? Zixthar asked. A scarred man looked up. This was Sergeant Dan Cooper, squad leader. We're watching old war movies. This one's about the Second World War. He gestured to an empty seat. Want to join us? You laugh at your own history? At death? Dan's smile faded a bit. We laugh because we survived. Every battle, every war, humans kept going. We remember the brave ones, the ones who didn't give up. He pointed at the screen. Those soldiers saved millions of people. We honor them by not forgetting. Zixthar sat down slowly, watching the rest of the film. The humans cheered when their side won, even though the victory cost thousands of lives. He did not understand. His people mourned death. They feared it. These humans treated it like just another part of life. Later, he found Lisa in the science lab. She was examining samples through a microscope. Lisa, I must ask you something, Zixthar said carefully. Why do humans seem so comfortable with violence? Lisa looked up and sighed. That's a complicated question. Want the short answer or the long one? I have time. She pushed away from the microscope and leaned against the table. Humans evolved on a death world, Zixthar. Earth isn't like peaceful Velcria. We had predators that hunted us, diseases that killed millions, natural disasters that destroyed entire cities. We learned to fight or die. But you won. You are the dominant species on your world. Why do you still act like prey? Because we remember, Lisa said softly. We remember when we were weak. We remember when a single bad winter could wipe out a whole tribe. We remember fighting each other for resources. She smiled sadly. We know what it's like to be afraid. So we decided never to be helpless again. That night, alarms woke Zixthar from sleep. He rushed to the bridge where red lights flashed. On the view screen, he saw a Kresh scout ship. Battle stations, Captain Ben Hayes said calmly, too calmly. Amy, weapons ready. Dan, get your Marines prepared in case they try to board. Do we run? Zixthar asked. The mission is to save the colony, not fight scouts. Jake Morrison looked at him, and Zixthar saw that cold expression again. We don't run. That just shows them we're afraid. We show them why they shouldn't follow us. The Kresh ship fired first, bright energy weapons that struck the Defiant Star's shields. The ship shook, but Ben's hands moved steadily across the controls. Return fire, Ben said. Let them see what happens when they pick a fight with humans. Amy's fingers danced over her console. The Defiant Star's weapons blazed, primitive kinetic rounds and missiles that tore through space. The Kresh ship tried to dodge, but Amy predicted every move. One missile found its target, and the enemy ship's shields collapsed. Again, Ben ordered. The second volley hit hard. The Kresh scout ship turned and fled. Shall we pursue, Captain? Amy asked, and Zixthar heard eagerness in her voice. Negative. Let them run. Let them tell their friends what happened. Ben smiled. Let them spread the word. As the Kresh ship disappeared into the darkness, Zixthar realized something terrifying. The humans had not been afraid, not even a little. When the Kresh attacked, every other species in the galaxy would have run or negotiated. The humans fought back immediately, without hesitation, without fear, and they enjoyed it. That night, Zixthar could not sleep. He kept seeing Amy's eager expression, Dan's confident grin, Jake's cold determination. These were not warriors forced into battle. These were predators who had chosen to fight. Tomorrow they would reach the colony. Tomorrow Zixthar would see humans in real combat against the Kresh. Part of him wanted to turn back, to return to safe Harmony Point. But a deeper part, a part he did not want to admit existed, needed to see what would happen. He needed to know what humans truly were. Mining Colony 7 was dying. Zixthar stared at the view screen in horror as the defiant star approached. Fires burned across the settlement. The protective shields flickered weakly, ready to fail. Dark shapes moved between buildings, too large to be human. The Kresh were already inside. "Coalition Command, this is Commander Morrison," Jake spoke into his communicator. "We have eyes on the colony. Situation is critical. Requesting permission to engage." The response came quickly. "Negative, Defiant Star. Hold position and wait for reinforcements. ETA 6 hours." Jake's jaw tightened. He looked at Ben, who nodded. "Understood. Coalition Command." "We will hold position." He switched off the communicator and turned to his crew. "Marines, prep the drop pods. We're going in." "Commander," Zixthar's voice shook. "You just told them you would wait." "I told them we understood," Jake said. "I didn't say we'd obey." He looked around the bridge. "Those are our people down there, human colonists. We're not letting them die while we sit up here safe." "This is suicide," Zixthar whispered. Dan Cooper walked past, checking his weapon. "Probably, but it's better than doing nothing." He smiled at Zixthar. "You coming, bug friend, or staying on the ship?" Zixthar thought about his comfortable lab on Harmony Point. He thought about his quiet life studying cells and writing papers. He thought about safety. Then he thought about Lisa's words. Humans remember when they were helpless, so they chose never to be again. "I am coming," he said. Lisa grabbed his arm. "Then stay close to me. Kate and I will set up a medical station. You'll be safer there." The drop pods launched from the Defiant Star like meteors. Zixthar rode in the medical shuttle with Lisa and Kate Williams, the ship's doctor. Through the window, he watched the pods fall toward the burning colony. Inside each one was a human marine, falling into hell without hesitation. The shuttle landed behind a damaged building. Immediately, Kate and Lisa began setting up equipment. Wounded colonists stumbled toward them, helped by others. A man with burns across his face pointed toward the colony center. "They're everywhere," he gasped. "The Kresh broke through an hour ago. Sam Mitchell is holding the main shelter with 20 others. But they won't last long." "Where's the Kresh command?" Kate asked as she treated his burns. "Old processing plant north side. That's where their leader is." Gunfire erupted nearby. Zixthar ducked instinctively, but Lisa just turned toward the sound. "That's Dan's squad. They're pushing forward." "Forward?" Zixthar could not believe it. Should they not establish a defensive position? "Humans don't defend when our people are in danger," Lisa said simply. "We attack." The next hour passed in chaos. Wounded humans came to the medical station in a steady stream. Some had terrible injuries, broken bones, deep cuts, burns. But none of them cried or begged. They let Kate and Lisa work, then picked up weapons and went back into the fight. One young man, Private Nick Carter, had a piece of metal stuck in his shoulder. "Hold still," Kate said, preparing to remove it. "No time, Doc." Nick stood up. "My squad needs me. Patch it and let me go." "You'll cause more damage." "Then I'll fight with one arm." Nick's eyes were hard. "People are dying. I'm not sitting here safe while they fight." Kate sealed the wound quickly, and Nick ran back toward the battle. Zixthar watched him go, this young human who chose pain and danger over safety. "Come on," Lisa said suddenly. "We're moving closer." Jake's squad reached the main shelter. "They need medical support." They moved through the ruined colony, and Zixthar saw his first Kresh warrior up close. It was dead, sprawled across the ground. 3 meters of armored nightmare, claws as long as Zixthar's arms. And nearby, 3 human marines stood guard, barely reaching the dead creature's chest height. "How?" Zixthar whispered. One marine grinned. "Explosives and teamwork. They're big, but we're smart." At the main shelter, Zixthar found Jake Morrison standing calmly in the middle of chaos. Humans fired from windows while colonists cowered inside. Jake coordinated everything with quick commands, his voice never rising, never showing panic. "Dan, flank left. Amy, I need that automated turret online. Ben, bring the shuttle around for evacuation." He saw Lisa and nodded. "Good timing. We have wounded inside." "Commander," Sam Mitchell approached. The colony administrator had a bandage around his head. "The Kresh commander is in the processing plant. As long as he's giving orders, they won't retreat. We need to take him out." "Agreed. Dan, you're with me." "We're going to kill their command structure." "That is insane," Zixthar said. "The processing plant will be heavily defended." Jake looked at him, and Zixthar finally understood that cold expression. It was not emotionless. It was controlled rage, directed and focused. "Maybe," Jake said, "but it'll end this faster. Fewer people will die." He picked up his rifle. "You want to understand humans, Zixthar? Come watch. See what we do when something threatens our people." Against all logic, Zixthar followed. He stayed behind Jake and Dan as they moved through the colony. Other Marines joined them, 12 humans total, advancing toward the processing plant. Kresh warriors appeared, and the humans fought with shocking efficiency. They moved as one unit, covering each other, using the terrain, never stopping. A Kresh warrior charged Dan directly. The creature roared, a sound that froze Zixthar's blood. But Dan did not freeze. He rolled aside, fired at the creature's joints, and when it fell, he put 3 shots through its skull. Simple, professional, terrifying. They reached the processing plant. Kresh warriors guarded every entrance. Jake did not slow down. He pulled out a small device and threw it at the main door. The explosion shook the ground, and the humans rushed inside through the smoke. Zixthar followed, his scientific mind taking notes, even as his survival instincts screamed at him to run. Inside the plant, the Kresh commander stood surrounded by guards. He was bigger than the others, covered in scars and decorations. "Hold," the Kresh commander spoke in the common tongue. "You are 13. We are 40. Leave now and live." Jake raised his weapon. "No." What happened next, Zixthar would never forget. The humans attacked a force 3 times their size. They used every advantage: speed, coordination, the terrain, their weapons. They threw explosive devices. They covered each other perfectly. And most terrifying of all, when a human got hurt, they did not retreat. They kept fighting. Nick Carter, the young Marine with the shoulder wound, charged a Kresh guard, firing until his weapon clicked empty, then struck the creature with the weapon itself. Another Marine, wounded in the leg, used a pillar for support and kept shooting. Dan Cooper fought with controlled fury, protecting his squad while pushing forward. And Jake Morrison walked through the chaos like death itself, calm and certain, his aim perfect. The Kresh commander saw his guards fall one by one. He saw humans who should be dead still fighting, and Zixthar saw something he never thought possible. He saw fear in a Kresh warrior's eyes. The battle ended when Jake's shot hit the Kresh commander's skull. The remaining Kresh warriors fled. In the silence that followed, Jake touched his communicator. "Colony 7 is secure." The Coalition command was not happy. Zixthar listened to the transmission from the Defiant Stars bridge. Admiral Trenzik's voice crackled with anger. "Commander Morrison, you directly disobeyed orders. You put your crew at risk. You violated established protocol." Jake stood at attention, his face neutral. "Yes, sir. I did all of those things. You could have died. Your entire crew could have died. But we didn't, sir. And neither did the colonists. There was a long pause. The Council is debating sanctions against humanity for this incident. With respect, Admiral, sanction us after we save people, not before. Jake's voice stayed calm, but Zixthar heard the steel beneath it. We didn't join the coalition to watch people die while we debate. The transmission ended. Ben turned from the pilot's chair. Well, that went well. They are angry, Zixthar said. You broke their rules. Rules that would have killed innocent people, Amy said from her station. Some rules are meant to be broken. Kate entered the bridge, exhaustion clear on her face. Final count. 48 colonists dead, 62 wounded. Without the rescue, all 300 would be gone. She looked at Jake. You saved over 200 lives. We lost 12 Marines, Jake said quietly. 12 people who won't go home. 12 people who chose to fight, Dan corrected, walking in behind Kate. They knew the risks. They went anyway. That's what Marines do. The next day, Lieutenant Chris Bennett from Intelligence brought troubling news. He was a quiet man with sharp eyes. Decoded Kresh Communications, Commander. This wasn't a random raid. They're planning something bigger. 3 more colonies, all within 2 weeks. How many ships? Jake asked. At least 50, all military. They're staging at coordinates I pulled from their command center computers. Zixthar felt sick. 50 Kresh warships. The coalition fleet would need months to respond. Then we don't wait for the coalition, Ben said. That is even more insane than the colony rescue, Zixthar protested. You would attack a Kresh staging ground with 3 human ships? 2 more ships just arrived, Amy reported. The Phoenix Dawn and the Morning Star. They heard what we did and came to help. Jake studied the star charts. 5 ships against 50. He smiled slightly. I've faced worse odds. When? Zixthar demanded. Earth, 1942. Midway Island. The Americans, that's one of our old nations, faced a massive enemy fleet. They were outnumbered and outgunned. They won. Jake looked up. Humans are good at winning fights we should lose. That night, the 5 human ships left Harmony Point without permission. The coalition sent furious messages, but the humans ignored them. Zixthar once again could not stop himself from joining them. He had to see this. He had to understand. The journey took 2 days. Zixthar spent the time interviewing crew members for his research. Everyone told him the same thing in different ways. Humans knew they might die. They were afraid. But they were more afraid of doing nothing. My dad was a firefighter, Amy told him during dinner. He ran into burning buildings to save people. I asked him once if he was scared. He said he was terrified every time. But someone had to do it, so why not him? She smiled. That's how humans think. Someone has to do the hard thing. Might as well be us. When they reached the Kresh staging ground, Zixthar saw the impossibility of their mission. 50 Kresh ships, maybe more, all gathered around a small moon. The human ships were tiny by comparison. This is suicide, Zixthar said again, though he knew it was useless. Probably, Jake agreed. But if we don't stop them here, they'll kill thousands of colonists. We can't let that happen. Why not? Zixthar's voice rose. Why do humans always choose the dangerous path? Why not live and let others handle it? Jake turned to him. Because we can. Because we have the ability to act, so we have the responsibility to act. That's what it means to be human. The battle started badly. Kresh ships surrounded the human vessels immediately. Energy weapons tore through space. The Defiant Star shook under heavy fire. Warning alarms screamed. A section of the hull breached, and 3 crew members were sucked into space before emergency doors sealed. But the humans did not retreat. They pushed forward, using tactics that made no sense to Zixthar. They rammed enemy ships when weapons failed. They used nuclear devices at close range, damaging themselves to hurt the enemy more. They broadcast music, actual human music, across all channels, singing while they fought. Amy's station caught fire. She kept targeting enemies, her hands moving even as flames surrounded her. Another crew member pulled her away and someone else took her place without missing a beat. The Phoenix Dawn took critical damage and couldn't escape. Her captain made a decision that Zixathar still could not process. He aimed his dying ship at the largest Kresh vessel and accelerated. The explosion destroyed both ships. "Captain Rodriguez just sacrificed himself," Ben reported, his voice tight. "Noted in the log," Jake said quietly. "He saved the rest of us." The battle lasted hours. Somehow, impossibly, the humans were winning. The Kresh ships began to retreat. Then the humans did something that shocked every species monitoring the fight. They boarded the Kresh flagship. Dan led the boarding party, and Zixthar followed with a camera to document it. Inside the enemy ship, Kresh warriors fought desperately. But they were afraid now. Zixthar saw it clearly. These creatures, bred for battle, were terrified of the humans. Dan's squad moved through the ship like a storm. They used every trick, every weapon, every advantage. They captured the Kresh commander alive, a massive warrior named Vrakthul. Chris Bennett interrogated him while Zixthar watched. The Kresh commander sat in chains, and Zixthar expected rage or defiance. Instead, he saw something like respect. "Your humans don't fight like prey," Vrakthul said slowly. "They fight like they've already accepted death. How do you kill something that isn't afraid to die?" "You don't," Chris said simply. "That's the point." Later, after the Kresh fleet scattered and the survivors fled, Zixthar found Jake on the observation deck, staring at the stars. Zixthar approached carefully. "Commander, I must ask. Everyone says humans are afraid, but I have watched you fight. You show no fear." Jake was quiet for a long moment. "We are afraid, Zixthar. We're terrified. Every battle, every fight, every time we face death." He turned to look at the scientist. "We just don't let fear make our decisions. Fear is useful. It keeps you alert, makes you careful. But if you let it control you, you're already dead." "So you fight, despite your fear?" "No," Jake corrected gently. "We fight because of our fear. We're afraid of losing people we love, afraid of letting evil win, afraid of being helpless. So we fight." He smiled sadly. "We're not brave, Zixthar. We're just too stubborn to quit." Zixthar returned to his cabin, his mind full of impossible thoughts. He had watched humans do the impossible. He had seen them win fights they should have lost. And he had seen Kresh warriors, the most fearsome species in the galaxy, run from creatures half their size. Something was changing in Zixthar's understanding of the universe. The Coalition Science Committee listened to Zixthar's presentation in stunned silence. He showed them videos from the battles. He shared his notes and observations. He explained everything he had witnessed. "In conclusion," Zixthar said, his voice steady despite his nervousness, "humans do not simply fight. They transform fear into fuel. They choose courage over survival. They are unlike any species we have encountered." Chancellor Mordak, leader of the Coalition Council, leaned forward. "Are they dangerous to the Coalition?" Before Zixthar could answer, the chamber doors opened. Dr. Alan Foster entered, a human historian with white hair and kind eyes. "May I address that question, Chancellor?" The council agreed, and Alan moved to the center of the room. "Members of the Coalition, I understand your concern. Humanity's approach to conflict is aggressive compared to your peaceful species, but let me explain why we are the way we are." He activated a holographic display showing Earth. "Humans evolved on a death world. We had predators with stronger jaws, diseases that killed millions, ice ages that covered continents. We survived by adapting, by fighting, by never giving up. The images shifted to show human history. We fought each other for thousands of years. We made terrible mistakes. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. But we learned. What did you learn? Ambassador Velcara asked softly. That survival isn't enough. That life is precious. That some things are worth fighting for. Alan looked around the chamber. We learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite fear. It's seeing something terrible and saying someone has to stop this, so it might as well be me. The council members whispered among themselves. Then alarms blared through the station. Red emergency lights flashed. A coalition officer rushed in. Chancellor, massive Kresh fleet approaching coalition space, thousands of ships. It's a full invasion force. Panic filled the chamber. Species representatives shouted over each other. Some called for evacuation. Others suggested surrender. The coalition military forces were scattered, unprepared for an attack this size. Jake Morrison entered the chamber, still wearing his battle-worn uniform. Humanity volunteers to engage the Kresh fleet. With what? Mordak demanded. You have 200 ships at most. They have thousands. Then we'll make those 200 count. Jake looked at the council. You don't have to understand us. You don't have to approve. But right now, we're the only ones who can act fast enough to stop them. So let us do what we do best. This is madness, a Thorian delegate hissed. You'll all die. Maybe, Jake agreed, but we'll take a lot of them with us. And that might give you time to evacuate civilians. Zixthar stood. I request permission to accompany the human fleet, to document what happens. Absolutely not, Velcara said firmly. Zixthar, you have already risked your life enough. Someone must witness this, Zixthar insisted. Someone must record what humans do, for history, for truth. The Chancellor nodded slowly. Permission granted. May the stars protect you both. The human fleet assembled quickly. 200 ships against thousands. Zixthar watched from the Defiant Star as they formed up. Every ship was damaged from previous battles. Every crew was exhausted, but no one suggested retreat. The Kresh Armada appeared like a dark cloud, blotting out the stars. Their ships outnumbered the humans 10-1. Any logical species would surrender. The humans broadcast their music louder and charged. The battle was hell. Ships exploded in every direction. Human vessels took horrible damage but kept fighting. The Phoenix Dawn, rebuilt after the captain's sacrifice, rammed 3 Kresh destroyers. The Morning Star, engines failing, used its last power to detonate near a Kresh command carrier. On the Defiant Star, Amy coordinated weapons with a broken arm. Ben flew with half the ship's systems offline. Kate treated wounded in a medical bay that had lost life support. And Jake stood on the bridge, calm and certain, directing the chaos. All ships, focus fire on their command vessels, Jake ordered. We can't beat them all, but we can cut off their leadership. Human Marines boarded Kresh ships in what should have been suicide missions. They succeeded. Human pilots flew damaged ships into enemy formations, sacrificing themselves to save others. The humans fought with impossible determination, and slowly, impossibly, the Kresh began to break. Zixthar watched enemy communications. The Kresh commanders were panicking. They had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that refused to die, that fought harder when hurt, that sang while bleeding. They're not stopping, one Kresh officer transmitted. They just keep coming. They don't care if they die. We do care, Jake said quietly, though only Zixthar heard him. We just care about other things more. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, 60% of the human fleet was destroyed. Thousands of humans dead. But the Kresh Armada was shattered, fleeing in disorder. Against all odds, humanity had won. The Kresh sent a message that shocked the entire galaxy. They requested coalition membership, asking for protection from humans. 3 days later, Zixthar stood at the memorial for fallen humans. Names were carved into a black stone wall, thousands of them. Flowers and small objects lay at its base. A small human child stood nearby, a girl maybe 7 years old. She had dark hair and bright eyes. She was placing flowers by one name, Ben Pierce, Marine Corps. "Did you know my daddy?" the girl asked Zixthar. "No," Zixthar admitted, "but I knew people like him. I fought beside them." "Daddy said humans are brave because we have to be. Someone has to protect people, so we do." The girl smiled up at him. "Are you scared of humans?" "I was," Zixthar said honestly. "Now I'm just grateful they're on our side." "Daddy would like you," the girl decided. "He always said we should make friends with different people. He said that's how we learn." She held out her small hand. "I'm Emma Pierce." Zixthar gently took her hand with his appendage, this tiny gesture of trust from a species he had feared. "I am Zixthar. Your father was brave, Emma." "All humans are brave," Emma said confidently. "That's what makes us human." After she left, Zixthar stood alone at the memorial. He thought about everything he had learned. Humans were not fearless. They were terrified of death, of loss, of failure. But they fought anyway. They protected others anyway. They chose hope over despair, action over paralysis, courage over comfort. Zixthar pulled out his datapad and wrote his final report. "I came to study humanity and found them weak. I stood with them in battle and discovered real fear. Not fear of humans, but fear of what I would have become if I had their courage and chose to waste it. Humans are not humanity because they are strong. They are humanity because they choose to be strong, even when afraid. They fight not because they want to, but because someone must. And they have decided that someone will be them. Today, I stopped seeing humans as allies. Today, I hope to one day be worthy of calling them friends." He submitted the report to the coalition. Within a month, 3 more species requested human protection. Within a year, humanity became the coalition's primary defense force, not because they were the strongest species, but because when danger came, humans were the ones who stood up and said, "Not today, not on our watch." And Zixthar, a simple scientist from peaceful Velcria, knew he had witnessed the moment everything changed. The day humanity showed the galaxy what courage really meant. The day he discovered that the bravest beings in the universe were the ones who were most afraid but fought anyway.